Hello. Namaste, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great. So today's video is about the understanding of the seventh house. Before that, if you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon below so that you get regular updates. Also, if you would like to have your personal readings from me, you can check out the link in the description box, www.anmollastrology.com. Under the reading and unique reading section, you can book a personal reading for yourself. Also, under the courses section, you can sign up for the courses. Let's get started. Today, we are going to talk about the seventh house. So the seventh house, as we all know, is known to be the house of the spouse, the house of the marriage. But today we will understand what more can the seventh house tell. Seventh house is the very opposite side of the first house, like of us. It's the mirror self of us. That's what, we call like the other half, right? The other half is the spouse. So that is the reason that is the house of the spouse. That is, a part of our reflection only. This is the house which is naturally ruled by the sign of Libra and the planet Venus. This house not only will tell you about your spouse, but how does your relationship with others establish? What do you seek from your relationships, or what kind of relationships do you bond with others? What kind of bondings do you have with others? How people perceive you and how your perception is towards the other people. Is communication something very important for you to build a bond, or it's intellectual understanding? That is Mercury connected with the seventh house. Is it more about what the person brings on the table, how hard work they are willing to do towards you, and how you project your hard work with your relationships? That's when Saturn gets associated with the seventh house. So seventh house is also how you actually deal with the unions of your life, not just the marriage, but any other relationship. Seventh house is also about your long-term relationships. So there's a difference. Fifth house is about your romantic relationships, which are, not very long-lived, which are like short-lived. With the seventh house, any relationship that goes over 2 years, 3 years, or is for about 10 years. Some people do have a relationship for 10 years, for 15 years. That is something which gets converted into the seventh house. Undoubtedly, it gets activated with the fifth house, but it ultimately turns into the seventh house. So having a strong fifth house, but a weak seventh house means that you start with a very strong attraction between two people, between you and the other person when it comes to romance. But as soon as that romance goes over a period of time, that means, and it gets affected, it gets bad, it doesn't work out more, that means you have a weak seventh house. And sometimes your relationships, your romantic lives are not going to work out, but your marriage works out beautifully. That's when the seventh lord has the dignity, but the fifth lord does not have a lot of dignity. It is weak. It is weak, and the seventh house is strong. Right? So you always need to see this comparison when you need to learn about your romantic life or your relationships in life. Okay, seventh house is going to tell us the nature of the spouse, the traits, the physical appearance of the spouse as well. Okay, seventh house is the house of legal contracts. That's why when seventh house gets activated through planets like Saturn, and especially with Saturn, I would say, by the way of transit, it can activate legal contracts for you. This is actually the house of legal contracts. It is the house of, you committing to something. It is the house of commitment, how strong your commitment is, how consistent you are with your commitment, that is the seventh house. So it's definitely a beautiful house to learn about if you want to learn about yourself. You know, seventh house is actually a variety, it's a diverse house. It's also about your spiritual awakening. This house is also about your you know, why it is called as the house of spiritual awakening. Also, it can lead you towards spiritual awakening. Like for example, whenever you have a major breakup, either it's from the marriage or it's from a long term relationship, and that affects you to the core and makes you go towards the god, towards the universe, towards the spiritual understanding. That happens, right? That happens because of the seventh house. That acts as the catalyst. Sometimes your partner brings in spirituality for you, your partner brings in that values for you. So that is the reason seventh house is also about spiritual awakening. And this is also eighth from the 12th house. This is the hidden aspect of the 12th house of your spirituality. Somehow seventh house is the one to hold the secrets of your spirituality or your spiritual journey, your spiritual inclination. This is also the house of wealth. If suppose there is Venus in the seventh house, there's Jupiter in the seventh house, second lord comes into the seventh house, 11th lord comes into the seventh house, eighth lord comes into the seventh house. This means that your wealth gets activated as soon as you either get into a serious relationship or you get married. So this house can also represent, this is one of the strongest significator of representation of your wealth. Because you know, there are some quotes that say that the genuine wealth of a person is not the money, not how much cash they have, how much assets they have. It's actually their relationships. How good relationships and strong relationships do they have? Okay, so that is what the seventh house is. Seventh house is also going to tell us about the comforts of your mother, because this house is fourth from the fourth house. The happiness that you get from your childhood, the happiness that you get from your mother, from your home and your home environment. This house is the gains of your father. Okay, this house is also associated with fame, promotion. When you get promoted, once when you are born, you know, we all are born single, then we go through our life, then we meet the other half, we get into a team, we get married, we get into a team. That is a sort of promotion. Because you're promoted, you get more of the responsibilities that comes with the marriage. Similarly, this is the house of promotion, and this house is 10th from the 10th house. That's why it represents, it's the bhavad bhavam of the 10th house. It represents your fame and your promotion. It also represents your hard work that comes by the way of career or your social responsibility. But seventh house is one of the important houses for understanding how famous you're going to be for your work, or how much hard work are you going to do towards establishing your authority. Okay, seventh house is one of the trick houses. Okay, I'm sorry, my bad. This is not the trick houses, but this is one of the Kama Sthan, Marka Sthan. That means something that transforms you, something that brings in a change, something that comes to an end so as to start something new. That is the seventh house. The Kama house, because this is the house of desires. This is the house that what do you desire? We always think about, we desire this type of a partner, we desire that type of a partner. That is the seventh house. Seventh house becomes extremely important because that it tells us your association with others. What do you think, or how do you connect with others? This is also the house, whenever I get, this is also the house of how, what kind of people do you attract. Because whenever I get consultations for marriage relationship, when I actually talk about the traits of their spouse, right, I have encountered this thing like n number of times, people telling me, oh, you are describing my ex, oh, you are describing my current partner. Actually, the fact is that we are always going to attract similar partners, because seventh house is the energy that we put out, and that energy attracts those partners only, whichever planet is in the seventh house. Like for example, whenever you have seventh house Mercury, you're always going to be inclined towards people who are youthful, people who have good sense of humor, who have intellectual understanding, who are good with communication, or who just make you laugh all the time. If suppose seventh house is associated with Venus, you want a beautiful partner, you want a charming, beautiful looking partner, right? You want an artistic partner, you want a partner who is devoted towards you. So that way, any planet that is associated with the seventh house or sitting in the seventh house is actually going to make you encounter with that kind of partners in your life. Second house is, sorry, seventh house is also about the quality of your married life. Also, seventh house is not the married life, but seventh house is the quality of married life. Rather, eighth house is the married life and also the longevity of the married life. Okay. Now, seventh house, what else? Seventh house will tell you about the firstborn of your younger sibling. Okay. And the seventh house is going to tell you about the fortune of your elder sibling. Okay. What else? What else? Yeah, so I think that's all what seventh house talks about. Oh, seventh house will tell you about your sexuality. There was one time in my career when I got to encounter with a lot of individuals who were bisexual. And then I studied that how the sign of Libra and the seventh house was the major influence to show that they are bisexual or they have high libido. Seventh house, it's not eighth house. Understand, always it is said that the eighth house is about the sexual organs, or the eighth house is about the sex. Eighth house is actually about the secret pleasure, secret sexual encounter. But it's actually the seventh house which is going to tell you about your sexual understanding, your sexual intimacy, your sexual libido. If suppose you have some planets like Jupiter, Mercury associated with seventh house, something that turns you on is intellectualness, is intelligence of the other person. If it is Venus in the seventh house, the appearance of the person is going to be that intimacy for you, be that turn on for you. If Saturn is in the seventh house, the hard work and hardworking productive people are going to turn you on. So seventh house, suppose Sun, authoritative, bossy, charming individuals are going to be the ones, and even sometimes gangster type of individuals or political individuals are going to be the ones who will turn you on. So that is what you're looking for in your partner. That's the seventh house. Okay, guys. So this was my analysis about the seventh house. And that is, I hope this gives you good insights with the seventh house, because understanding seventh house is like understanding the hidden self of yours. Okay, so we'll see you with the next video of the eighth house very soon. Bye bye. Take care.